Y'all know I wrote a book, right? It's called Buy a Game and it's free. Click the link down there, you got it.
DreAllDay.com.
Let's go. Now we about to talk about people skills. We talking networking, we talking business, we talking making yourself valuable to other people, letting them know that you exist and how exactly to do it, because there's an art to it, there's also a science to it, and people don't get this right because number one reason they don't get it right because nobody teaches it. There's not a school for this, ladies and gentlemen. My name is DreAllDay. Let me know your name and where you're from as you come into the room. We got Toastmasters Miami Beast today. If anybody want to come and work on their public speaking skills, you are welcome. Miami Botanical Gardens, 2000 Convention Center Drive, right across the street from the Convention Center in South Beach, Miami. But anyway, let me know your names, where you're from as you come in. Hey to you too. What's up, Shump Man? Dream Young King, what's going on? Infamous, what's going on? Be Dynamic, what up? My name is Dre Baldwin. I come from Philadelphia. I live in South Florida. I am an empowerment expert. My aim, what's up, RFan33? My aim is to empower as many of you as possible over the next 50 years, maybe 100 years, depending on how long I live. And I empower people through sports, through speaking, through writing, through books, through life. What's up, Stadium Day? Anything you do in life, business-wise, and almost everything you do is business, because if it involves people and it involves money, it's business. Anything that you're doing that involves those two things, you're going to be dealing with people. And if you want, Jeff from Memphis, what's going on, Jeff? If you want people to work with you, you want people to like you, you want to win friends and influence people, you got to learn how to deal with other people. And dealing with other people is a skill of communication. There's an art to that. And communication is not just the way that you speak, but it's also the way that you listen to other people talk. And that's what we're about to talk about today, how to get better at that communication, how to use what you're hearing when you're listening to better gauge how you're going to actually speak to people. And so many people get this wrong, and I run into people. I was talking to a guy who's a salesperson. He's in like an insurance company where he sells insurance, but he's just not good at communicating. He's not good at talking to people. And he was asking me questions about, how do you start a conversation with somebody when you just want to share your business with them, you want to share your products or your service. He had no idea how to do it. And I'm thinking to myself, how is this guy a salesperson? How's he eating? How is he eating if he doesn't know how to talk to people? And you got to know how to talk to people. Any sale you do, any job you get, any business you do, if you are out and you are single, you're looking for a partner, and you're looking for multiple partners, whatever you're looking for, you got to be able to communicate with people, and that requires people skills. The number one thing that you have to understand with people skills is that actually the last thing you want to do, let's start with the last thing. We're going to work backwards. The last thing that you want to do when we're talking about people skills with other individuals is be awkward. You ever had a conversation with somebody and it's just an awkward conversation? You can tell they don't know what to say, but they stand there looking at you with this dumb smile on their face, but they have no idea what to say next, and the whole thing just gets kind of uncomfortable communication. You don't want that to happen to you. You don't want to be that person who doesn't have the skill of communication, and you probably also don't want to be in that conversation with somebody who does not possess the skill of communication. So I'm going to teach you, I'm going to tell you a little bit in this stream. I can't tell you everything in this stream. This is going to be a book that I'm putting out in 2016, how you're going to get better at communicating with people via your people skills. So let's talk business first. We're going to talk business first, and then maybe we'll talk relationships, and I'll take some questions from y'all if there's any certain areas of communication that you want to get better at with your personal people skills. So number one thing in business is this, and I talked about this in the video on networking probably a couple months ago, which you can find on my YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/DreUPT, or just go to workonyourga.me. That'll take you to my YouTube channel where you can watch that video where I talk about networking. Number one thing you don't want to do when you're networking is ask somebody the bland question, what do you do? And never shove your business card in somebody else's face. Those are two things you don't do. Any of you ever went to a networking event or met somebody and they just handed you a business card? Like, y'all just met, they just introduced themselves to you and they just handed you a business card, and you thinking to yourself, like, why are you giving me this business card? I'm not even interested in, I don't even know who you are, first of all. I don't even know if I want to call or email you, second of all. Go to your website. Why are you handing me a business card? Just this past weekend, I was talking to this woman. I didn't know her. I knew of her. She knew of me. We had seen each other before, but I didn't know her. And we started talking. I mean, within the first 30 seconds of us talking, I asked her, what kind of work are you in? What do you do outside of wherever we had seen each other? And immediately she starts talking, telling me what she does. She hands me a business card. I'm like, why is she giving me this business card? I don't want this card. I'm not going to her website. I'm not going to call her. But she shoved the business card in my face. Don't shove business cards in people's faces. Don't give somebody a business card, ladies and gentlemen, until or unless they ask you for a business card. That's the simple rule of thumb. Until someone asks you for your business card, do not give it to them. And until somebody asks you what you do, you don't have to shove in your face what it is that you do. Have a normal conversation. So when you meet somebody out, wherever you meet somebody at, doesn't matter where it is, this is a simple conversation starting question that all of you are going to start using from this point forward, okay? This is the question that you're going to ask. What brings you to blank, wherever you at? So if you're in McDonald's and you meet somebody, you ask them, what brings you to McDonald's? Now, yeah, they're going to say, maybe I want some fries or I want a burger, but why McDonald's? You could have went anywhere. You could have went to Checkers across the street. You could have went to the Subway. You could have made food at home. You could have ordered a pizza. Why McDonald's? And based off their answer, then you start to have a conversation. If you want to know what somebody else does, don't ask the question, what do you do? You can ask this question. Here's a better question. And the reason why you want to change up the wording to this question when you're asking people what do they do is because if any of you used to hearing the exact same type of questions all the time, like whenever you meet somebody, say, hey, how are you doing? You ever hear that question every single day? People ask, how are you doing? And what's the usual response we get? I'm good. I'm all right. We usually all have a habitual response to how we get that question. That's because we're used to hearing that same question over and over again. So this is what you want to do. When it comes to communicating with other people, one skill that you want to develop is the skill of pattern interruptions. Pattern interruptions means you take a question that people normally ask habitually, which is going to lead to a habitual response. And you're going to ask the same question, but you're going to ask it worded in a different way, which is going to, number one, what it does is it stops people in their tracks mentally because they're used to hearing a certain question a certain type of way. So when you break the pattern, interrupt the pattern by asking that question a different way, what happens is they have to stop mentally and be like, whoa, this person asked me something I'm not used to being asked. They said that in a way I'm not used to hearing it said. Now I got to come up with a different answer. Now you're breaking their pattern. When you break somebody's pattern, you know what happens? They can't habitually respond with their auto response questions, their auto response answers. When people are giving you auto response answers, you're not going to get to know them because they're telling you things they're used to hearing. They're used to hearing your questions all the time. They used to respond the same way all the time. You learn nothing about them. You want to learn something about somebody, you got to break their normal pattern of communication and get them to actually think and then respond. In order to get people to think and then respond, what you need to do, start asking different questions. Change the wording of your questions, even though you might be asking for the same information. And number two, ask completely different questions that make people actually think. Open-ended questions. An open-ended question is a question that can't be answered in one word or with a yes or no or with just a statement of fact. So first of all, if you want to know how you meet somebody, instead of asking how we're instead, here's how it goes. When you want to know what somebody does professionally, ask them. You can ask somebody something like, very simple, what kind of work do you do? Or what industry are you in? That's another one. What industry are you in? What's your vocation? Change the wording of the question, and immediately, just by changing the wording, you stop people in their tracks from their habitual thinking, and they got to think about it a little bit, and they may even respond. They may even respond and say something about the way that you change those words up, and now they're going to be interested in you because now they see that you're not just a normal person asking the same dumbass questions over and over and over again. That's number one. Number two thing, when you want to open somebody up to a conversation, this is a key question that you always want to ask somebody. The question is this: where do you see yourself, or where do you see your business going, and where do you see yourself going in 2016? What's next for you in 2016? Where do you see your business going in the next 3 to 5 years? And those are the reason you ask those questions, ladies and gentlemen, is because they're open-ended questions. An open-ended question is a question that can't be answered with just a simple yes, no, or a piece of information. Like if you ask somebody, hey, what do you do? I say, I'm a basketball player. And I answered your question, the conversation's over. I just gave you a piece of information. It's not a lot you can do with that except ask me some dumb question like, oh, who do you play for? Did you ever play in the NBA? You ever think about trying out for the Miami Heat? It's the same questions people always ask. You don't want to get stuck in that rut because that's bad communication. And the thing with bad communication, ladies and gentlemen, is people will forget who you are. When you're communicating with another person, the last thing you want is for them to forget that you exist as soon as the conversation's over. And if you're asking the rote, habitual questions that people always ask, that's exactly what's going to happen. People are going to forget who you are, forget that the conversation ever even happened, and as soon as you're gone, you're going to be erased right out of their mind like a piece of bubble gum that they spit out. So what you're going to do is ask, where do you see yourself going over the next 3 to 5 years? Because when you ask that question, if you ask anybody that question, what do they have to do to respond? They have to think about it. They have to think and say, all right, where do I see myself going over the next 3 to 5 years? What am I doing with my life? Where is my business headed? What are my goals for 2016? And it's January, so you can ask this question, what's next for you in 2016? Now, by the time it gets to June, you can ask the 3 to 5 year question. So you ask an open-ended question. Everybody understand what I'm saying with open-ended question? Everybody got an idea of what that means, open-ended questions? If anybody needs more clarification or you got a question to this point, go ahead and post it in the comments. I will take it if you got any questions about open-ended questions. All right, the next thing that you're going to do, I just gave you a specific example. I just told you. Are you listening? I just gave you a 3-minute breakdown of an open-ended question versus a closed question. But next, after you get to asking open-ended questions, the information that you get from people when you're talking, because remember that I said communication is not just about what you say, it's also about you listening to what other people are saying. And when you get good at listening, you'll get good at conversation with people. You'll get better in your people skills because you'll learn how to keep conversations moving based on what that person says, not in a series of questions that you already have stuck in your head, like you're doing an interview. Like you already, I'm going to ask these 10 questions no matter what they say. That's not good conversation. Good conversation is you take whatever that person says and you use it to keep the conversation moving. Why? Because now you're talking about them. Any of you ever heard the phrase, if you want to be interesting, be interested? To be interesting, you got to be interested. You got to be interested in the other person. How do you get interested in another person? You listen to what they say and you keep that person talking. Key to good communication to make people like you is that you want those people talking about themselves. You don't want to get in a conversation with somebody when you tell them, and all the conversation is you telling them how great you are, all the things you've accomplished, all the goals and plans you got for the next 3 to 5 years, all the stuff you've been doing for the last week. Nobody cares. No other human being cares more about you than they care about themselves. All of you should really understand that. Nobody cares about you more than they care about them. So if you want somebody to like you, all you have to do is get that person to talk about their number one favorite subject, which is what? Ourselves. We are all our favorite subject. So if you get another person to talk about themselves, they will like you a lot more than if they got to sit and listen to you talk about you. No matter how great you are or you think you are or what award you just got at work or what your mom told you every day when you was growing up, you got to get them to talk about themselves. All right, that's number one. Getting people to talk about themselves. And when you listen, ask open-ended questions to people, they're going to talk about themselves. Where do you see yourself going? What's next for you in 2016? Well, you know what? I'm going to give a TED Talk this year. I'm trying to publish 10 books. And they're going to say, oh, wow, what's your TED Talk about? How'd you get into doing TED Talks? What is it that got you interested? Why did you want to do a TED Talk? Who's the best TED Talk you ever heard of and why? Now you got them. Those are all open-ended questions. Those people are going to talk. They're going to talk more about themselves. When you ask them, what's your favorite? Why is this your favorite? Why do you do this? What got you interested in this? When they answer those questions, they're going to tell you more and more and more about yourself. When you ask somebody a question that starts with, what got you interested in, fill in the blank, they're going to tell you a lot about themselves. When you ask somebody, why did you decide to blank, something that they did, that they told you they did, they're going to tell you about themselves. When you ask them, what's the most interesting thing about blank, they're going to tell you about themselves because they're telling you why it's interesting to them. So they might say something like, Stephen Curry is my favorite basketball player. And you might say, oh, wow, me too. Stephen Curry is my favorite player too. Then you ask them a question. Why do you think why is Stephen Curry your favorite player? I know why he's mine, but why is he your favorite player? They got to give you an answer. Oh, what about LeBron James? Do you think Stephen Curry is better than LeBron James right now? And let them talk. Ask open-ended questions that get people talking. Open-ended questions are a good way to think of an open-ended question. You're asking who, what, when, where, why, and how. Who, what, when, where, why, and how. Who's the best basketball player you ever played against? When was the last time you played a game of basketball? Who'd you play with? When? I just said when. Where do you go when you want to get around people who are really positive and give you good vibes? Where do you go? Why is Stephen Curry your favorite basketball player? How did you get into doing what you do professionally? Did you always know you'd be doing that? These are open-ended questions that get people talking. And these are the type of communication skills, ladies and gentlemen, that you need. Asking questions that will get people to talk about themselves, make them like you, number one, make them remember you, number two, and a way that you'll learn to start networking, number three. And as I said, I'm putting out a whole book on networking and communication and people skills. It's going to be coming out in 2016 because I meet so many people who are in businesses that assumingly require people skills, but these people have no people skills. So I'm wondering how they even do their jobs without getting fired or not making any money. It makes no sense to me. I have no idea, but I'm going to dig into that in these books that I'm going to be doing on networking, people skills, and communication in 2016. Can I take any questions from anybody here on this topic of networking, the people skills that they don't teach you in school? I'm going to try to read your responses as I'm driving right now. It's kind of rainy. It's kind of rainy in South Florida today, but I will. What's up, Asia baby? Question is, everything this man is saying is 100% facts. Well, thank you. Accurate 22, what's going on? If you like what I'm saying here, make sure you share this stream with somebody when it's over. You can share it on Twitter when it's over, share it on Facebook when it's over. If you know somebody who got Periscope, just tell them to look up DreAllDay, follow him, and watch everything he puts out. It'd be good for you. It's good for you like vegetables and drinking milk. You know, they used to have to drink milk things. What's up? What's up, Sharday 2B? You came in kind of at the tail end of this when we talking about networking, communication, the people skills they don't teach you in college. That's what we talking today. But can I take any questions from anybody? If nobody got any questions, then this one is done. My name is Dre Baldwin. DreAllDay.com is my website. I wrote 5 books. I wrote books on motivation, a mental game, confidence, playing basketball overseas. And I wrote my first book, Buy a Game, is my basketball backstory up to and through college. You can get that at DreAllDay.com/buy-a-game, or just go to DreAllDay.com. When you get the pop-up that comes up, put in your name, email address, we'll send it to you for free. What do I think about eating what? I didn't see that last thing. What do I think about eating something? And if you want to read any of those books that I published, they're all on Amazon. So go to DreAllDay.com/Amazon. You get any one of those books. Kindle versions like $2.99. Hard copy version be like $11-12. You get it sent to you right to you. Amazon Prime 2 days if you got it. Work on your game. DreAllDay.com. Y'all know I wrote a book, right? It's called Buy a Game.